Hi guys, the episode that you're just about to listen to is generously sponsored by our affiliates Board Game Crate. Board Game Crate provide a monthly subscription service where they get fresh new games delivered straight to your door. Just head over to www.boardgamecrate.co.uk, and furthermore, if you use our discount code UnluckyFrogIsAwesome, all lowercase, all one word, you'll get a cheeky little discount. It's easy to remember because it's true.
Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. I am your host Ben Porter, and I am joined this Independence Day by Jon Bryant of Earth to Games, co-designer of Masters of Gettown. How are we doing, Jon?
I'm very good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Straight back into work after a long weekend, so hanging, as they say in Scotland, or hanging for those of us not familiar with the nomenclature, but the weekend's in sight, so...
That's good. We really appreciate your work stories when we listen to this podcast.
Do I always sound a bit fed up? I'm getting that impression from the way people, relate their feedback on these stories.
Well, it's like, I don't know, you're the grumpy uncle that everyone agrees with, but Like you
have to be in a certain mood to listen to what that grumpy uncle says, but every now and then a little pearl of wisdom that is related to you will stand you in good stead, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Steer you good for the future.
Okay, I think I can live with that. You've been busy yourself. You've been putting small people to bed and all that, haven't you, in preparation for this?
Yeah. Putting the kids to bed, finishing the last... I've got 2 paragraphs left and the Kickstarter page is finished, so yes, on the ball.
There's quite a bit of lead time on those Kickstarter pages, isn't there? You need to submit them quite a bit ahead of time.
Well, it's more a case, especially for first-time designers like us, that you think, I've just got to write about the game, that can't be hard. And then the amount of hours it takes to get everything right and put all the things in that you know you're going to forget. So, yeah, it is quite a mountain to climb.
Yeah, someone was telling me, I'm not sure how much this is used as a rule, but you have to make sure that you've mentioned back this game X amount of times throughout the page as well. That's apparently good practice to do.
Okay.
Which seems a bit pushy, but seems to work for the people that insist upon that. But
well, yeah. See, being a sign writer, I only ever deal with signs that say facts. So no parking, which means there is no parking. So for that situation, I could say back this game, but I would probably end up writing it really politely, please, dear viewer, this game is worth backing.
Stop. Please back the game. Yeah, that kind of thing. And I suppose being a sign writer, you're not really allowed to use alternative facts on signs either. That's reserved for political office, apparently.
Yes. Although I was funny you mentioned political office. I was asked by someone if I could make a big sign for them so that they could hang it right next to the political office next door so that their sign couldn't be seen. That was quite the strange job I turned down.
Yeah, that could potentially have landed you in court, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, I just made the sign. It's on their building.
Yeah, that's it. Onus is on them.
Yeah, exactly.
So we mentioned earlier that you're currently working on a game called Masters of Gettown, which is obviously why you were talking about writing the copy for the Kickstarter page. So for those of us listening who maybe have not heard of the game yet, tell us a little bit about Masters of Gettown.
Well, it's been a labour of love for me and Dan, my co-designer, for the past 3 years. He initially showed me a video he had made of throwing some dice into just a cardboard box at the time. And it was the fact that the aim was to hit the other dice that I'd never seen that. And it kind of really encapsulated me. So from that point on, we've we've prototyped an arena. We've built up a roster of characters with the like variable player powers, and it's basically the ultimate sci-fi Hunger Games style arena deathmatch, but all like morally acceptable because everyone who enters gets a clone. So even if you die, you come back to life. So that's why everyone's accepted it. And you as the player, you take on one of these characters and you pick a set of equipment, and you're trying to build different engines, build different kind of combinations of abilities so that you can exploit the charge gain system, which is in the game. And this is something you use to power your characters and charge your weapons and shoot at each other. But the main thing that we're bringing to the market with this game is it's the first full contact dice battling game. So through the prototyping, I took the cardboard box that I saw that Dan showed me and developed it through foam board into like fully hardened acrylic. And I finally like overcome physics to the point where if you throw a dice into the arena, it doesn't flip all the other dice randomly by accident. Like I just saw, just on a side note, I just saw a trailer for a game where they've actually utilized that as the mechanic. So you cover the bottom of the...
What, flipping all the dice?
What? No, not that. But the physics of hitting a cardboard box and making it ripple.
Ah, okay.
You put loads of tiles along the bottom of the box, and then you throw a dice at it, and it's like you're blasting away rocks. So when you hit the box, all the tiles around the dice will flip over, and then you've got to like scrabble and try and get gold. So that's
neat.
That's based on our old technology, so we're sci-fi years ahead of that. But yeah, so in our game, you've got this hardened acrylic arena, hexagonal shape, and you're throwing your dice in, trying to get the highest attack score versus your opponent's defense each round. And this is the first game where if they've got a 6 on their dice, you have any sort of angle you want to throw your dice at it, any power level you want, as hard as you want, and you can actually smash their high scoring dice. There's been so many times when I've been playing other games and people have rolled high and then I'm like, I can't do anything about it. And it's been so good to develop a game where you can do something about it. Like, yeah. I love playing it as much as developing it. It's really exciting.
So you mentioned just there about developing it, and you mentioned earlier Dan's prototype. So how going right back to the beginning, how did it start out? Masters of Gettown. What was the starting point for the development of the game?
I was literally just playing Hearthstone online, and I had probably the best game of Hearthstone I think I've ever had. So I clicked add friend, and the opponent did the same, and it turned out to be Dan. Like, I was like, great game, man. We started chatting, and then he was telling me about he had converted the D&D rules into a sci-fi roleplay set in the city of Gettown that was all about shooting guns and rolling percentage dice for cover. And I was like, wow, that's exciting. And then he said, like, I've been he was throwing some dice around, coming up with an idea for a game. And like the art director and illustrator inside of me, like, just my heart skipped a beat, and I was like, oh, okay, like, please let me see. So he showed it to me, and that was like I said earlier, like I saw the dice, and like just hearing the dice hit each other, like, it's such a satisfying sound. And it resonates so much more with an acrylic arena. But yeah, so I'd seen this, and so there's loads of Hungarians, because Dan's Hungarian.
Okay.
And they were all around this cardboard box, like muttering away in a foreign language and like throwing dice. It looked like some kind of like backstreet gambling game.
So
it honestly did. Yeah. I was sold.
Yeah.
So then like he said, like, would you want to help me with it? And my eyes lit up, and I was like, yes, please. And And then I just like instantly went to work. Like being in the sign trade, I had access to all the like foam core materials, and I just got the scalpel out, got the cutting board out, started making things like, because our original idea was just to make a hexagonal box, and you take the lid off, put it underneath, and just play in that. Which is have you seen? Is it Rattle Battle Roll the Dice?
I have not. No.
It's basically that's what that is. It's like it's a pirate game where you just drop the dice into the box, and then wherever they are, the distance between them is like how far you can shoot and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd seen that, and I thought, okay, so that worked. And then I tried it, and like anything more than a gentle drop shot, and all the dice are flipping. So it was just cardboard was out. I tried foam board, but it wasn't dense enough, so that again the arena was bouncing sometimes.
Yeah.
And with that, like the second you threw a dice and hit the surface, foam board dents really badly.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want the first throw of the game to damage the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
like, there's points when you'll have a dice spinning in the arena for a good 10 seconds, like just going all around, tapping all the walls, and like any sort of divot in the surface, and it's just going to throw the trajectory off, and I didn't want that.
Well, it's like when, we played your prototype, and the game requires you to throw dice from quite a distance, and when they gather a bit of speed there, like you're saying, if you had a foam one, that wouldn't last very long at all.
No, gosh. We had an idea, which could potentially be a stretch goal one day, but like of laser cutting out like a blast hole in one of the walls, so that if you actually hit it with the dice from the inside, it would kind of fall out, and then it would leave a hole so that you can knock other dice out as if you've like destroyed the arena while you're playing.
Oh, that's neat, yeah.
A stretch goal coming this campaign.
Well, it's out in the ether now, so you are going to have the wrath of the internet coming down upon you if it doesn't appear. So enjoy that. As we've mentioned before, the internet is famously very rational and a balanced entity. So.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
We love you, internet. Be kind. Anyway, so I got from foam board. I was like, okay, so acrylic's indestructible, and I couldn't find anything that was clear that was like cheaper.
Uh-huh.
So that was the next leap. And what facilitated the design that I ended up with was I was in a fellow signwriter's studio, and I look over in the corner, and there's a bag of like just plastic L-shaped things. And you've seen from the arena, like when you saw the prototype, like there's the hinges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I said to the man there, I was like, what are these things? And he said it was you clip them onto the edge of a shop shelf, and then you clip a little sort of like sign in the bottom, so it's like just a gripping hinge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and like that was originally what kind of set me off on this design, because I was thinking you could just make an acrylic wall and slot it into some holes in a base. It would be solid, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, if you'd fallen on that and it was a rigid like grip, then the acrylic would snap and someone could potentially get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw these hinges, I thought, oh my God, like 6 of those, hold the walls together around the base. And I practiced, like I literally like jumped on the arena like as if I'd like, oh, I've tripped with something.
Yeah.
And they just fall away. It just lets go of the walls and nothing gets damaged. So
well, that's neat.
Yeah. So safety as well, which was quite handy.
So you've obviously got a lot to consider for the arena itself. How have you been able to manage up the cost of doing that?
Well, like I do have a friend who runs a laser cutting business,
mm-hmm.
for like laser acrylic cutting business. So he's been able to help me like we did, like he was kind enough to like help me do some prototyping.
Sure.
And then we cut out some shapes and tried it and it worked. And then I paid him for like the full size, full quality one for the previews and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just been kind of like, it's not been as expensive as you'd imagine. Like I've had some leftover sign materials, so I've used everything I've had to like even down to like making the temporary stickers on the prototype dice with the little lightning bolt symbols. Like I just made stickers on my sign cutting machine. So I think I've been lucky in the fact that I've had all this stuff around me to help me with the process.
And certainly a lot of transferable skills as well, from the sounds of it as well.
Yeah. Because like, I've done all the art and design for the game, and that's been. I mean, like, I'll admit I'm not the best like character artist in the universe, but because we were considering taking this game to like a tournament level, then my original style for the characters is like they're all effects and like fancy abilities on top of a silhouette. Because I always like the idea that like with a silhouette, it doesn't exactly define what it is, and you can step easier into those shoes.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to be like Imperator, the minigun wielding like mercenary, then it's a lot easier to go, I don't know what his face looks like because I'm his face, and then pew, pew, pew. And you can like, you get so many people going pew pew when we play. It's funny.
Yeah, you can project whatever persona you like onto that character, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Charlotte was not able to make it tonight, but there was a question that she wanted me to ask you with regards to Master of Gettown. And quite simply it was, who is Masters of Gettown aimed at? What is the target audience for Masters of Gettown?
It's quite broad, and like I'm not saying that in like I'm trying to please everyone, but like when we were developing the game, I wanted to appeal to like all the reasons that people play. So there's the social elements where people are around the arena together. There's the mastery elements where people want to find the secret combinations of equipment and like beat their friends through like knowledge and skill. Then we've got like dexterity, obviously, because it's now, but it's anyone who likes combat, I think.
Yeah.
Wide ranging from like Warhammer to Magic the Gathering. I mean, like my heaviest influence is sort of Magic the Gathering because I was in the tournament scene for ages, and like I really love the game, and we've tried to instill some of that sort of deck synergy. So with the cards, so when you pick like your character and your equipment, that's ostensibly you coming up with the theme of a deck in Magic the Gathering, and then what you're trying to do is play those cards, but in our case, use their abilities over and over to build some sort of engine to win the game against other people. Yeah. So, I mean, our original sort of, if the game could be anything, we were like, throw roleplay elements in there, throw this in there, throw that in there. Like, we wanted way too much for it. And then I listened to podcast after podcast where they're like, if you've got a new concept, you want one new concept, not too many things at once. So we kind of overdeveloped and then distilled back to the point where this is the thing that introduces both full contact dice battling, and in the lore of the game, this is Gettown. This is the capital city of this new planet, and this is the tournament that everyone goes to try and be the master of Gettown. So
there's, with your Magic the Gathering background, I guess that's like you were saying earlier, where the bent towards the sort of tournament play comes in.
Yeah. I mean, what I imagine for the tournament would be like someone would bring a character and their own sort of custom set of equipment to a tournament with them, and that's what just like any entrant to the actual real tournament. Like I'd like to replicate the story tournament with the real tournament as much as we can.
Yeah.
So they turn up as a character, they pick their weapons, and then they sit down and face off against people they've never met. They're fighting for their lives, like smashing their opponent's dice. Like halfway through, someone's on high health, and they're making alliances between each other just to beat them, and then taking it out on each other afterwards. We've added social elements that they're not obvious, but like we've got a healer character, and if his ability activates, he can heal someone for 2 health. Now, he can heal himself, and he can be a sort of a tank character. But when you've all thrown your dice in, and someone's about to pick someone that they want to attack, and you've got your ability, you'd be like, okay, so if I heal you, you won't attack me this turn? and you can sort of buy your freedom on a turn-to-turn basis if you
trying
kind
to
of
bargain.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, you mentioned the classes there. So then, throughout the game, from what I understand, you've got these archetypes that will be familiar to people that have played video games, things like Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing. Is that right?
Well, I mean, in the core of them, yes. Like that was kind of both mine and Dan's main inspiration for character creation.
Yeah.
We'd gone through so many sheets in D&D, like making people, that I think that really helped us come up with some unique characters. But then when it came to balance, like when we were trying to balance things out, that's when we started to really see the impact of the different abilities we were giving them, and then replacing some that didn't fit the sort of model. And then we started giving like an overall arcing theme to the characters. I mean, we've iterated it so many times. Like we started off with just a character and it had no upgrade ability. Charges didn't exist. You literally had a character and a blank based arena.
Yeah.
Took that to the UK Games Expo 2017 and it went down a storm, like because the mechanic was sound. So that was the point when we thought, okay, so the dice and the turn-based order, that works. Now let's deep dive into these characters and see what sort of tactics and extra strategies we can create.
Yeah, you mentioned there about the turn-based combat, and one of the things that we found was quite unusual was that if you're in a multiplayer game, it's not just a free-for-all. What happens is you've got it's for instance, it's Jon's turn, so he gets to pick from the other three combatants whether he wants to fight Josh, Ben, or Charlotte. So it means that each round you only actually have two people battling one another. Why did you decide to structure combat in that way?
Well, I mean, there was a dice reason and a thematic reason. So like the dice reason was we never wanted more than 6 dice in the arena at once. Because we're trying to push like more skilled shots for players. Like it's a lot harder to hit your dice into your other dice and move them into a specific area when there's loads of dice in the way. So we started off with lots of dice in the arena and like brought it back to the point where skillful players would be able to like work their way around the situation. So, and the thematic way is basically like at the start of each round, the attacker throws their ability dice and everyone else throws theirs. And it's almost like a prowess meets initiative thing. So everyone's dice is showing what that person is starting these few seconds of combat doing, whether they're shooting with their ability or whether they're like they've got a 6 so they look really strong, and then you go to the next dice and like, oh, he's got a 1, so this person's quite weak, so then you can pick on them. Or if you've got a rivalry with someone because they attacked you last turn, then those numbers don't even matter. Rather than having a free-for-all where like fists are being thrown and you're imagining the combat as one of those comedic smoke clouds where arms and legs are coming out, you know? Like we were like, you can much more easily visualize 2 people like throwing, and each dice they throw and hit the other dice is like they're trading blows and they're trying to get one-upmanship on each other.
Yeah. So it's more Mexican standoff, less Beano comic book style brawl.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah.
And we limited like almost all of the weapons that like shoot shots into the arena. Like we've limited it so that you have to have a dice in the arena to shoot them, because we didn't want the flow of the combat between those 2 people interrupted by this guy going, I'll shoot you. Like, so that was another step forward, I think, to making that one-on-one combat seem more real.
Well, one of the bugbears that I have with a lot of other arena combat games is that I found what tends to happen is one person lags behind and then everyone else gangs up on them quite quickly. But what I found with Masters of Gettown was that even if you were in that position where you were vulnerable, because you had the dice rolling mechanic, you could pull off a reversal because it's just you and that one player. Whereas if you're against three, you get no chance. Exactly,
yeah. I mean, in the 2.5 years that we've been playing a semblance of the modern game, there's been one time when we had a 6-player game. The first person did their attack turn, did a bit of damage. The next person throws their dice in, got a 1, which is the weakest attack you can get.
Yeah.
And then the next 5 players proceeded to get 6s, and that unlocks the combat ability of a counterattack. Uh-huh. And I saw one person on their first attack turn get quintuple counterattacked. It was the most shocking thing I'd ever seen. Up until there was a point where, like, in our old, like, pre-balancing days, we had, okay, so you rolled 3 6s in attack. So that's 6, 12, 18. But you also got a triple. So triple it. So we had a point where one of our playtesters did 54 damage to his partner. She was on like minus 45. And bear in mind, folks, like, you usually start at about 18 health. So, like, we had to fix that, like, quick sharp.
Yes, he killed her 3 times over, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mad. Well, I suppose that actually leads very nicely into my next question, actually, and it's that whenever there are dice present in a game, you more often than not will get people complaining that perhaps that makes a game too random. What do you say to those people?
What we haven't touched on is that in the base of the arenas, you can have one of 6 different battle stages, which add an area control element as well as, like, built-in luck mitigation factors. So one of the bases is the gravity flipper, and the whole theme of this base is there's a giant area in the middle where if your dice is 100% in there, at the end of the turn, the gravity flips and all the dice flip over 180. So, yes, your opponent's got a 6 on his dice, and yes, you could throw your dice really hard at it, and the odds are it will go lower. But we know the facts. Like, you hit a dice, it turns into a 1 to 6 random number generator, basically. So, by building in things like this gravity flipper, I don't have to change that dice. Now, if I, like, just do a delicate drop shot on the edge of the dice, because of the nice smooth surface of acrylic, I can actually make it slide across the arena without changing the number. And once you slide a 6 into the middle of the gravity flipper, it flips over to a 1. So it's not that you're a victim of the dice. It's more that they can become victims of the arena, if you will.
Yeah. I've thought of an analogy for Masters of Gettown. Maybe use it as a tagline somewhere, or maybe not. Extreme curling for the tabletop.
Exactly. I was on. Do you watch Tabletop Crashers with the Gig Spiel?
I do not. No.
It's another good podcast, and they do a lot of, like, tabletop simulator things. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, like, we could do a winter edition where it comes with 6 tiny little brushes.
So that would be so good.
Through the dice,
yeah.
And your teammate is brush. Ah, right in the middle.
Yeah. If nothing else, just for the novelty factor, I love it.
Yeah. Christmas edition.
That's it. Masters of Gettown Christmas edition. Extreme curling. Yeah. Well, that is about all that we've got time for. But before we wrap up, for people who are interested in Earth to Games, and in particular Masters of Gettown, where should they go?
The main place will be going to Kickstarter on Saturday and search for Masters of Gettown. Mm-hmm. And we've got loads of really exciting stretch goals and loads of things to show you there, all the stuff in the box and things. Even to the point that you can, at one of the pledge goals, you can get a full-size cosplay replica of one of the weapons in the game.
Ooh.
Which, I know a guy. I know lots of business guys, and it just so happens that next to the guy who cuts the laser acrylic, there's a guy who makes fiberglass replica weapons.
There you go.
So share the love. But contact wise, we've got at Earth_2_games. That's TO on Twitter, and that's handled by me. And I'm with good old Team Trevor, and we're out there helping people with their game design. And you can just hit me up for any questions about the game. And then Dan is over at Masters of Gettown on Facebook, where he keeps that running for us. During the campaign, we'll be updating our website, earth2games.co.uk, with a nice little map where people can play the game before they buy it during the campaign. Yeah.
Jon, thank you very much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure, sir. Amazing.
Yeah, and I dare say we'll hear from you again very soon on one platform or another. But for all of our listeners, wherever you are, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Charlotte from the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Now be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. All you need to do is search Unlucky Frog Gaming. You can also show your support for the Unlucky Frog through Patreon. To find out more information, check out our website, www.unluckyfrog.com. Thanks, bye!